Hey guys, this is Pepe. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of controversy about the 5R110s welding the pump gears to the converter hub. It really hasn't happened to us. We've been very fortunate, very lucky. We haven't had that problem. Although I did have to pay for a warranty somewhere out of town where this happened once, and I wanted to explain something that seems to have a lot of controversy and everybody's confused about. First of all, the starter is not mounted to the transmission like everyone thinks. It's mounted to the plate behind the block. See that plate right there? The starter is bolted to this adapter plate that goes between the engine and the transmission. Because I keep hearing that the starter's mounted to the transmission. The transmission's over there. You don't even have to pull the transmission to R&R the starter, or when you pull the transmission, I'm sorry, you don't have to pull the starter out. It stays here. So people are adding grounds to the case, to the... I've seen a reman with a ground strap from the frame to one of the transfer case bolts. If that's the way they're doing it and it works for them, great. But this is what we do in our shop, and I'm sorry if I have it wrong. I may have it wrong. Maybe someone can chime in and say, hey Pepe, you have it wrong. This is the way you do it. But I'm gonna tell you what we're doing here in our shop and why we're not having this problem. And basically, I just explained, the starter's mounted to the plate. It's not mounted to the transmission. So we're not adding any grounds to the transmission. We're not putting any straps to it at all. We're leaving that alone. We've cleaned them before, but we're not really scraping the paint off of the case or any of that. The starter's here on the plate, mounted to the block. Now here's what I wanted to show you guys. I wanted to show you guys the grounds. This is the passenger side ground that goes from the passenger side battery. This ground goes to the block right there. And I just do a visual inspection, but if I see anything weird, we'll take that off and clean it, or stick a wrench in there and tighten it very tight, like super tight. And this passenger side battery ground goes right to the block. From there, another cable splits to the frame, which is right there, which we painted this frame because we're doing a big job on it. We got to take it off and grind it down and get a good ground. So this is how the passenger side gets ground to the block. The cable goes straight to the block. And this is the ground you need to clean and tighten the crap out of it. And if you think it's suspect, replace the cable. Just replace brand new cable, negative battery, to the block right there. Now, how is the block getting ground from the other battery? Here's how it does it. The same cable here splits into the frame, then it goes through the frame. If you come on this side, this is how the ground gets to the starter from the driver's side battery. This cable goes straight on the driver's side, ground cable goes straight to the frame. So that's why if you want to add a ground, you add a ground from the block to the frame, or just clean them or replace them. But we're not adding ground straps or any of that to the transmission at all. It's just real simple. You got a ground that goes to the frame, and then it travels through the frame, and it goes through this cable, and all your ground for the block, all of it goes through that port right there, through that eyelid. So for me, in my opinion, like I said, I could be wrong about all this. The cable, this is a very critical point. This whole engine block is grounded right there at that point. So if we were going to start adding ground straps or cables, yeah, it would be to the frame, maybe from here to the frame, but we haven't done it. We just inspect the cables. If they look really bad like those, you need to replace them. You just got to replace those cables, because a pump and a converter and the R&R and the downtime and the tow bill, it's not worth it. But like I said, just cleaning them and inspecting them has worked for us. And I want to emphasize this again. The transmission's over there. It's not anywhere else. It's over there. And the starter's mounted to the block. So I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but if the starter's looking for another ground somewhere and it's going through, it's looking to get a ground maybe through the ground going to the transmission harness. I don't know. I don't know why it's trying to find another ground through the transmission, but if it's trying to find ground through the transmission, it might be because those grounds they're not sufficient. So it's trying to go through a different route. I mean, I don't know, but I just wanted to show you guys, you know, how we do it in our shop, and again, that the starter's over here. It's not mounted to the transmission. Now, gasoline application where the 3 bolts mount to the case, that's a whole nother ball game. We're only talking 5R110 diesel here. So I don't know if this will help someone, but you know, especially showing you where the things are on this truck that we're working on, since the transmission and the engine are, you know, tore apart where you can see everything. So, you know, that's my recommendation. If you are going to add a ground, to go from the starter to the frame, or from the starter to the battery. But hey, I mean, if those cables are not looking too good, you're not going to make a cable as good as a factory one. They're difficult to make. If you want to make a good fat ground, you'd have to have the tools to do it. So yeah, I mean, that's what I would say. Replace the cables. And again, I wanted to show you how the driver's side battery ground goes to the frame, and then like I said, they both go into the block right there, and they receive ground right here. But yeah, I could see a problem if maybe the engine was painted and this plate was not making a good ground to the block. But if it hasn't been messed with, and if it, you know, if it's clean and it's getting a good ground, it really doesn't, I don't know that this paint on the transmission or doing things to the transmission would help anything. So once again, like I said, I'm Pepe, and this is how we do it in our shop. And I hope to get some feedback and some answers, and people to chime in and talk about this great discussion that's been going on in a lot of forums, not just on Facebook.